Lovely day to you, our very lovely viewers, and welcome to Women on the Watch, powered by the Shaper's Ark. At Women on the Watch, our aim is to expose time-tested principles for your personal and relationship development. My name is Wonuola Adetayo, and we have a rather intriguing topic for today, which is called Mentors, Not Tormentors. Our scripture is taken from Ruth chapter 3, verses 1 to 5. Ruth chapter 3, verses 1 to 5. Then Naomi, her mother-in-law, said unto her, My daughter, shall I not seek rest for thee, that it may be well with thee? And now is not Boaz of our kindred, with whose maidens thou wast? Behold, he winnoweth barley tonight in the threshing floor. Wash thyself therefore, and anoint thee, and put thy raiment upon thee, and get thee down to the floor. But make not thyself known unto the man, until he shall have done eating and drinking. And it shall be, when he lieth down, that thou shalt make the place whereas he shall lie, and thou shalt go in and uncover his feet, and lay thee down, and he will tell thee what thou shalt do. And she said unto her, All that thou sayest unto me, I will do. Please sit back and enjoy the story of Ruth and Naomi.
The story of Naomi and Ruth, according to Ruth chapters 1 all the way to chapter 3. Naomi and her husband Elimelech left Bethlehem, Judah, for the country of Moab in search of greener pastures because a severe famine had hit Bethlehem, Judah. The couple took their two sons, Mahlon and Chilion, with them as they relocated. While the relocation decision seemed wise at the time, unfortunately, it left Naomi badly damaged as she had lost her husband and two sons in Moab. Having lost her husband and two sons, Naomi, under normal circumstances, should have been excused if she became a bitter tormentor in reaction to her predicament. Rather than do this, Naomi decided to eat the humble pie and made the painful decision to release her two daughters-in-law, Ruth and Orpah, and return to her native town of Bethlehem, Judah. Whilst one daughter-in-law by name Orpah quickly seized the opportunity of her freedom by taking her leave, Ruth, on the other hand, insisted on leaving her country Moab to follow her mother-in-law Naomi to face an uncertain future in an unknown and unfamiliar land of Bethlehem, Judah. Upon arrival of Naomi and Ruth in Bethlehem, Judah, the relationship between Naomi and Ruth became that of a mentor and a mentee, respectively. Ruth, as a young widow in an unknown terrain, had no means of livelihood and very little hope of reconstructing her life. But as Ruth continually sought counsel of her mother-in-law, who was an older widow in a known terrain, Ruth began to make a success of her subsistence. Eventually, this mentoring relationship with Naomi strategically positioned Ruth to find joy, to find rest and abundance as she became the wife of Boaz at the age of 40 years. And she delivered a male child called Obed, who became the grandfather of the great King David. Are you struggling with a particular subject and you think you could use the guidance and direction of a more experienced mentor? Or, on the other hand, have you acquired much experience and skill that others can leverage to fast-track their lives and careers? If your answer is yes, we hope that we can offer you some practical tips as we continue today's episode titled Mentors, Not Tormentors.
What a tremendous help Naomi was to Ruth. Naomi was a mentor and not the typical tormentors that some notable mothers-in-law are noted for. In today's episode, we shall be answering 5 questions. The first question is, what is mentorship? Mentorship is from the Greek word that means enduring. Mentorship therefore refers to a sustained relationship and a continued involvement during which a more experienced and more knowledgeable person offers support and guidance and assistance to less experienced and perhaps less knowledgeable person. Another way to look at mentorship, we will see through the story of Naomi and Ruth that in their relationship, Naomi was a more experienced and more knowledgeable woman. And we could see her offering help, using her own experience to help Ruth attain a more successful and meaningful family life. Another way we can define mentorship is to say that mentorship relationship is an intentional one between a mentor, who is the more experienced one, and a mentee, who is the less experienced one. A mentor is a trusted guide and advisor. Again, we will see that in the story between Naomi and Ruth, Naomi was a trusted guide. She was trusted to help Ruth to get something that was more successful. Now, what is question 2? Question 2, what roles do mentors and mentee play? Because it's a dual arrangement, both the mentor and the mentee, they have roles to play. We start with the role of the more senior, who is the mentor, the more experienced, and we put it under 3 C's. The mentor serves as a consultant. Unlike tormentors that criticize less experienced ones, mentors serve as consultants. We see Naomi serving as consultant to Ruth when she gave Ruth expert advice to position herself as a woman of virtue in Ruth chapter 2 and verse 22. Naomi said unto Ruth, her daughter-in-law, "It is good, my daughter, that thou go out with his maidens, that they meet thee not in any other field." So with that expert advice, serving as a consultant, that was able to guide the mentee. The second role that a mentor plays is the role of a counselor. A mentor serves as a counselor by constantly communicating with the mentee. So we see Naomi continuously having conversations with Ruth so that she could discuss the challenges, the progresses, and the successes. So we see Naomi helping Ruth to clarify issues, exploring options, and devising strategies. You can see this in Ruth chapter 2, verses 19 and 20. Ruth 2, 19 and 20. And let her mother-in-law said to her, "Where hast thou gleaned today? And where rottest thou? Blessed be he that did take knowledge of thee." And she showed her mother-in-law with whom she had wrought, and said, "The man's name with whom I wrought today is Boaz." And Naomi said unto her daughter-in-law, "Blessed is the Lord, who hath not left his kindness to the living and to the dead." The third role that a mentor serves is the role of a conductor. We are all accustomed to conductors guiding people through as they enter into buses on their journey. The mentor functions as a conductor. How? Leading the orchestra by directing and leading the mentees. So when it became clear that Ruth had made the needed impression on Boaz, Naomi, as a conductor, directed Ruth through the exact steps that she needed to take to position herself to win the hand of Boaz, so that way this Ruth was able to improve her life. You can read the rest in Ruth chapter 3 verses 1 and 18. Ruth chapter 3 verses 1 and 18. Now, the mentee also has a role to play, and there are 3 roles under 3 A's. The first is articulation. The mentee needs to articulate the goals, the strategies, and plans. Now, this means that the mentee needs to sit back and ask herself or himself, what do I want from the mentorship relationship? We see in this situation that Ruth was the one. She took the initiative to approach Naomi in Ruth chapter 2 verse 2. And Ruth the Moabitess said unto Naomi, let me now go to the field and glean ears of corn after him in whose sight I shall find grace. So we see that she took the initiative, okay? So no one can know better than you what you want. So if you are a mentee, it is your responsibility to articulate what you need from the mentorship relationship. The second role is that of ambition. After articulating what you need, then you need to be clear. What is the desire of the mentee? It is the mentee's responsibility to clearly clarify her desire, because that is what will give capacity to the mentor. If Ruth did not nurse the ambition to succeed in life, no matter what Naomi could have done, there was no way Naomi could have helped her. So it was Ruth herself who clearly identified Boaz in the field and then came home to tell Naomi about what she had seen. So the second duty of the mentee is ambition. We see this in Ruth chapter 2, verses 1 to 3. Ruth 2, 1 to 3. And Naomi had a kinsman of her husband's, a mighty man of wealth of the family of Elimelech, and his name was Boaz. And Ruth the Moabitess said unto Naomi, let me now go to the field and glean ears of corn after him in whose sight I shall find grace. So we see articulation is the first responsibility, ambition is the second responsibility, and we go to the third responsibility of the mentee, which is action. In the final analysis, mentoring will amount to nothing unless the mentee takes specific steps as advised by the mentor. Now we see Ruth taking action on every single advice that Naomi gave to her. If you look at Ruth chapter 3, verses 5 and 6. Ruth chapter 3, verses 5 and 6. And she said unto her, all that thou sayest unto me, I will do. And she went down into the floor and did according to all that her mother-in-law bade her. Now, having answered question number 2, let's go to question number 3. The third question: what techniques or styles are available to the mentor? So if you are a mentor, what are the techniques that you can use to help your mentee that is working with you in this intentional relationship? There are 3. The first is active listening. And Naomi used every of these 3 techniques. Active listening. Naomi paid rapt attention each time that Ruth brought information about her daily progress and plans without interrupting. James chapter 1 verse 19a tells us very clearly, says, wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear and slow to speak. There is a reason why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So, as a mentor, the listening technique requires that you be silent without interrupting. Listen to the mentee's progress before you make your interjection. The second technique is questioning. Questioning technique helps the mentee to develop critical thinking skills. Now, the questioning technique frequently forced Ruth to reflect on her daily accomplishments, and to think critically about her next steps. So when you put questions to the mentee, it helps the mentee to think through, what have I accomplished? What are the next steps that I need to take? And if you read Ruth chapter 2, verses 19 and 20, you will see the example of Ruth and Naomi there. The third technique that the mentor can use is called the directive technique. The directive technique is an approach whereby the mentor gives direct, unsolicited advice, this time to the mentee. And this has to be based on the far-reaching wealth of experience that the mentor has and the much depth of knowledge that the mentor has. So we find that in the example, if you notice the way and manner Naomi orchestrated a series of actions that led Ruth into getting married to Boaz. You can read that in Ruth chapter 3, verses 1 and 18. Ruth chapter 3, verses 1 and 18. Now this takes us to question 4. What are the benefits of mentoring? What are the benefits of mentoring? Number 1, access to the mentor's goodwill and contacts. You see, if Naomi was not the mentor and mother-in-law of Ruth, how would she gain access to Boaz, who was in the lineage? So you gain access to their goodwill, you gain access to their contacts. Number 2, access to ladders that shorten the learning curve. You see, when you have a mentor, your learning curve is condensed, is reduced. You learn a lot more in a short space of time. Access to ladders that shorten the learning curve. Number 3 is avoidance of costly errors. For example, Ruth would have made a terrible error by gleaning in various fields, because then Boaz will feel that this is a loose woman, I can't have her. So it was the mother-in-law that said to her, you know what, glean only in Boaz's field, so that way he will not see you as a woman that is frivolous going up and down the place. So you can avoid costly errors when you engage in the mentorship relationship. Another benefit is rapid promotion. And we can see very clearly that with the help of Naomi, we find Ruth, an erstwhile very young widow who had a very bleak future, suddenly becoming the wife of one of the richest men in Israel, and in Jerusalem at that time, and she ended up actually becoming the great-grandmother of our Lord Jesus Christ. Now, we go to question 5, the last question for the day. How do we get the most out of mentorship relationships? How do we get the most? Suppose you have made up your mind to get involved. How do we get the most? We have 4 tips under the acronym SHIP. S-H-I-P. S, serve your mentor. Serve your mentor. H, honor your obligation to act. Honor your obligation to act. I, inform your mentor of your goals, progress, and plans. And the last one, which is the P, prepare for every meeting that you are to have with your mentor. Now we will try to go through each of these 4 steps so that we get a good grip of this process. The first S, serve your mentor. Beloved, relationships thrive on mutual exchange. Mutual exchange. Ruth served Naomi with what she had. That's what she had. She had strength. She had agility. She could move. So in Ruth chapter 2 verse 11, you will notice what she began to do. So as a mentee, you must think carefully. What are the little things that you can do for your mentor in exchange for the support and the help and the guidance that you are receiving? In Ruth's case, she brought back food for her mentor. She didn't forget her when she got abundance of supply. You can read it in Ruth chapter 2 verse 18. Ruth chapter 2 verse 18. And she took it up and went into the city, and her mother-in-law saw what she had gleaned, and she brought forth and gave to her that she had reserved after she was sufficed. Okay? So your gift to your mentor It can be a simple birthday card on his or her birthday, or it can be a little household good, toilet paper, fruits during your next visit. These are little things that you can do for your mentor. The second is H. Honor your obligation to act. When advice is given, when guidance is given, it becomes totally useless when the mentee does not act on the advice. So while the mentor can share experience, while the mentor can give guidance, while the mentor can give direction, they will amount to absolutely nothing until the mentee chooses to act. So it is very, very important that you act. And if we notice, in the case of Ruth, if she failed to act on her part, all the efforts of Naomi to take her to the next level would have been fruitless and would have been frustrating. Read Ruth chapter 2 and verse 3, Ruth chapter 2 and verse 3, and also Ruth chapter 3, verses 5 to 7. You will see Ruth consistently and constantly taking action on the advice that Naomi gave to her. And which takes us to the third step, which is I. Inform your mentor about your goals, your plans, and progress. Now, it was Ruth who constantly took the initiative to share with Naomi. Every time she came back, she shared her plans, she shared her intentions, she even shared her desires. Read Ruth chapter 1 and verse 22. Ruth chapter 1 and verse 22. It is important, if you are a mentee, to periodically inform your mentor about your plans and your progress. I have some people that I mentor, and periodically, sometimes monthly, sometimes more frequently, we go through, what are your plans? You want to go for a master's degree? Where have you applied? What course do you want to attend? And all of that. So it's very important that you share your plans and your progress. Now, in this day and age, you may need to do this remotely, in contemporary times, but it is also equally important that once in a while you have a face-to-face physical one-on-one session with your mentor. We will see in the case of Ruth, she was constantly engaged with her mentor, constantly updating on progress, constantly updating on plans, and you can read this in Ruth chapter 2, verse 2a. You see, the mentor's ability is only helped and enhanced when the mentee provides adequate information, relevant information. That's how it can help. Now, the fourth and the last step, which is P, prepare for each meeting. You need to prepare. Mentors are generally busy people. I mean, in the case of Naomi, fortunately in our own case, she was a mother-in-law who was a widow, who had no husband. But many people who are mentors are typically family people, senior executives. They're busy people. So because of that, when they invest their time, you have to make that time worthwhile by preparing well in advance before going to the meetings. You need to have a clear list of what are the expected outcomes, what are your objectives for the meeting, what do you hope to accomplish. You need to list out your progress update and to make each engagement a fruitful one like that of Naomi and Ruth. Each time they got together, something major always came out of it. So as we gradually wind up today's episode on mentors, not tormentors, it is my sincere hope that you have drawn some inspiration from the story of Ruth and how fruitful and fulfilling it can be to get involved in the mentorship relationship. Beloved, mentorship can condense your learning. It can advance your growth. It can advance your development, and it can save you from very costly errors in life. So why don't you start a mentorship agenda today? And I call on you, if you're an experienced leader or a mother or indeed a mother-in-law like Naomi, I urge you to be a ladder for others to climb to their next level of success. Till I come your way next week, this is Wonola Adetayo, the Shaper, signing off and wishing you good success as you get involved in the mentorship agenda. Remember, Please be a mentor and not a tormentor. We look forward to hearing what your answers are to the reflection questions. Contact us. We'll be quite happy to hear from you. God bless you.